I heard your little speech got rave reviews.
Missing? What do you mean he's gone missing?
Don't forget who you work for.
For every story that has ever been told, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Hey guys, Ken here from Untitled Press, bringing you another marketing tip. Today I want to talk to you about something that I think kind of gets overlooked as a marketing sort of tactic. A lot of people will use this to get more email contacts, but I don't think they really understand how powerful it can be. And I'm talking about uploading sample chapters, sharing sample parts of your work, making teasers that have passages from your work on there, participating in One Line Wednesday and Two Line Tuesday and all those little things that are more about actually showing your work off to people. We do a lot of things that are showing our cover, showing our ranking and things like that, but showing the actual art that you have created off sometimes gets overlooked. And so there are lots of ways that you can do this. The first way, and the way I do it a lot, is by making teasers. You can do these on Canva, BookBrush, Crello. There's a lot of different little free websites out there. You can also do it in Adobe Photoshop if you're proficient in that, or any design program. But you want to get a stock image or an image that you own the rights to, that's compelling and eye-catching, and just put a few lines from your book that relate to that image on there. I've done some pretty powerful ones for some of my short stories in the past that just, they help sell the book, because the picture is so compelling that people want to read, what's under that, what I've put, with the lines from the book. And like I said, there's plenty of design companies out there that you can use, and they're pretty simple and fast to do. So where are you going to share these? Well, you can share these on your website. You can share these on your social media, like Pinterest and Instagram, Facebook. You can make Facebook ads with some of them. Just make sure you don't have a whole bunch of text, because Facebook ads don't like text. That's one way. That's one way to kind of showcase the words that you've been writing. But there's also, like I mentioned, Twitter has One Line Wednesday and Two Line Tuesday. And these are just days where you use that hashtag and share 1 or 2 lines according on which day. And maybe even tag some of your writer friends and kind of keep it going. It's a way for people to just get a quick glimpse into what you're writing. Another thing that a lot of people do is book funnel, or I think Prolific Works also has a way to do this now too, is you just submit a sample chapter, and you can get some email signups that way, because people will sign up to get on your email list, and you'll send them the free gift with their sample chapter. You can also do this completely devoid of any other websites or anything like that by putting it on your own author website. You can make a landing page there where people can see some stuff from your book, and they'll get a feel for what you're writing and want more. And so this is why I say teasers, because they tease the audience into wanting more, just like a teaser trailer does for a movie. that you get a little bit of some of your excellent content and you want to know what happens next, or you want to know where the story goes. And so you sign up or you click for more information. So that's my marketing tip for this month, is kind of just to put your story out there, not a whole bunch of your story, but a sampling of your story, so you can show off your skills and you can get the word out there about the words that you're writing. Okay, that's all for me this month. I'll see you next month. Bye.
Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to another edition of Indie Music Review with your furry, friendly neighborhood JD Estrada. This is Amanda Palmer.
I wouldn't kill her in a war. I don't get what they do it for. It's all so terribly vague. I see the pictures from 1,000 years of battle, and I think it's such a bore. I walk New Orleans with a knife.
Amanda Palmer was in the Dresden Dolls. She's had major albums out. People would go like, why are you reviewing her in an indie music review? She's indie. Right, she's shifted the way that she does things to have more creative liberty and do what she believes in. Switching the dynamic that I normally do on these reviews, I'm gonna leave this song because it's 5.5 minutes. It's called Voicemail for Jill, and it's off her album There Will Be No Intermission. It is an intense album, and like I said, I'm gonna shift things up a bit. Between each song, there's interludes that kind of let you process what you heard, because this is a really deep album, very meaningful album, very personal and intense album. All the things is that a gorgeous atmospheric intro. Then the ride comes in, and it's very theatrical. It's got intense lyrical content, and it clocks over 10 minutes. So there's no intention to rush. There's no intention to be radio friendly. There's only the intention to connect and be human. And this is an album based on different types of empathy and situations that are really hard.
I'm not sure that you'll get this until
Congratulations is another interlude. Gorgeous. Then comes in Drowning in the Sound. It's ghostly and intense. Imagine making a loop with piano, cello, and other proper instruments. It's pretty haunting, yet it's oddly danceable. About a minute and a half in, it gets into like a nice groove. It's wonderfully biting, and like a lot of her work, there's no need to pull punches, so why even bother? Basically, if the truth hurts, it's not the truth's fault. Hold On Tight, My Darling. Hold On Tight, Darling is another interlude. And again, I like these. They break things up. They give you a break to, like, gather yourself. And this is a proper album that I think it's best enjoyed top to bottom rather than track by track. The Thing About Thing is one of my favorites in the album. If you want to learn ukulele, Amanda makes a hell of a case for you wanting to learn it. She's not a virtuoso uke player, although I don't even know what that would mean. But she carries the tune, and it's funny how whimsical and easygoing this song is if you don't pay attention. There's a lot of that going on in this album. When you listen to the lyrics, they're deeply personal, and then at like minute 2:20-something, 2.5, the song decides to soar without giving you any warning. Life's such a bitch, isn't it? Another interlude, lovely. Then Judy Blume. A storyteller song if there ever was one. It's dense, honest, and you feel the mix of emotions that the crescendo has to this like post-religious moment of emptiness. It's beautiful, it's haunting. Feeding the Dark is another intermission. And then Bigger on the Inside is another uke song, and it's more of a rocker than The Thing About Things, and that's pretty cool. There Will Be No Intermission is an interlude, and it's kind of an intermission. Machete is heavy on the drama, and just a song that tears at you, which is appropriate given the title. Another interlude called You Know the Statistics. Then this song is Voicemail for Jill, and I chose this for several reasons. She's been censored for this song. It's intimate and heartbreaking as a song can get. It's about abortion, and it's intense, and in times of blind opinions, which are very common nowadays, it's a song that is good to share, if only to start or continue the dialogue. I don't think abortion is a light topic by any means, or something that's clear-cut. I know several people who have had either natural or surgical abortions. And you have to talk to the person to see how grueling and intense it is. It's a gorgeous song, and I think it's a song that you can share with a friend that's going through that. You'd Think I Shot Their Children is one of the lovelier interludes. Then there's A Mother's Confession. It's an intense and honest song. It will be uncomfortable for some people, but I think that this album does that a lot. It begs to be uncomfortable at times, in favor for communicating empathy and humanity, and I think that's beautiful. It makes you think twice of the knee-jerk reactions we have to so many things. They're Saying Not to Panic is another interlude. Look Mommy, No Hands. It's a full-on cabaret. A bit creepy, a bit spooky, and I like something with music from another century, yet the lyrics are as current as it gets. Intermission is Relative, is appropriate as a title. And the album finishes with Death Thing. It's a hell of a closer to leave with a melancholic punch. It's a beautiful album. It's a very honest album, very personal album. It's not radio friendly. It doesn't mean to be radio friendly. It's meant to be human friendly, and I like that. I like Amanda a lot. I shared something that she wrote, and I did a comment, and she responded. That's the type of person. She's got millions of followers and whatnot, and she does a hell of a job trying to connect with people. And in part, I'm reviewing because I respect and appreciate her as a human artist, woman, and anything, what have you. But the dream is there to have enough success to say, screw conventions, I'm going to do my own thing, and have people support you. And I'm one of the 15,000 plus Patreon supporters of Amanda Palmer, and I'm happy to be one. It's refreshing to see someone that refuses to compromise, and as an indie artist, I can definitely relate to that. As for the album as a whole, it's intense, and I'm reminded a bit of The Final Cut by Pink Floyd, or Blinking Lights and Other Revelations by the Eels, but those are two way heavy albums that you feel drained, and they're super heavy. But unlike those two albums, I don't feel awful or drained when I listen to this album. I felt reflective and sad, and maybe wanting to be more empathetic to others, and if you ask me, that's as magical as it gets. So, cheers, check it out, and by all means, it's always time to go indie now.
People keep asking me why I do things like I do. And in all of this measuring influence, I forgot you. You and me lying behind the Mohegan
Dig this, man. SNARC, then spelled with a K, started out as a comic strip in Montana Tech newspaper The Technocrat in January 1982. This cat, Dr. Bruce Olaf Solheim, although my man wasn't a doctor then, was studying engineering at the time. But his real passion was art and storytelling. He loved comic books. Doc already had done a hitch in the Army, and after dropping out of engineering school went back in and became a helicopter pilot. SNARC didn't die though. The idea was still in his head. In 1988, Doc made a digital version of SNARC on his Commodore 64 computer. Crazy, man. Those files were lost, though. In 1993, Doc got his PhD in history and started his professor gigs at different schools and ended up at Citrus College in Southern California. In 2016, dissatisfied with corporate history textbooks, the Doc wanted to write his own history anti-textbook from the people's perspective. Right on, man. He includes comic book pages, naturally. He remembered watching the movie American Splendor in 2003 and digging it. He was a big fan of Harvey Picar's work. Grabbing an old issue of American Splendor, the art by this cat named Gary Dumb caught his eye. The Doc got a hold of Gary and bingo, bango, bongo. The partnership was formed. Now that's where I come in. I'm SNARC's cosmic staff. Check you cats and kittens later. Now here's the Doc himself.
Please share my dream of making SNARC a reality. Thank you for your kind attention, my friends, and let my dream become yours as we all work towards a better tomorrow and live in peace and harmony with each other and protect our precious planet. We must all, as SNARC says, be the light.
Hi everyone, as some of you might already know, I have a short film in the Unseen Short Film Competition, and I'm doing this post to encourage you to vote. I'm very happy with the short film. It's a story about a girl with a mobile phone addiction, can't keep away from her device, and it's a modern tale about connection and disconnection in our society. So I think the more people that see it, the more people we can raise awareness about being more connected with each other, the better. So anyway, I think I've got my link somewhere posted on Facebook on my profile. So be sure to click on the link, look at the film and press like.
Today, the movie I'm reviewing for you guys is called Monsters. It's about Jen, a 9-year-old girl who lives in an underground bunker. Her family brings her her supplies and needs, and they go out hunting for things they need. This has a great twist, and this movie is a short film. It is done by Steve Desmond, and the links are below. Basically, it's told through the eyes of this what this 9-year-old believes, and when she goes outside, we see the actual monsters for what they are, and in that sense, it's a short film. In that sense, you can feel this is movies telling for the times that we're living in, with the way that people are behaving, um, the dystopian kind of methodology that's out there. This film brings that all to light with monsters and who the monsters really are.
Dad, when all of the monsters are dead, can we live in a house like you used to?
I hope so, sweetheart.
I recommend that you watch this film. I can't say more than that without giving too much of it away. And I found this on a new, perusing down the rabbit hole, I found this on the new channel on YouTube called Omeletto, which will be the second film I'm going to be reviewing today. So please check this movie out. It's called Monsters. It's on the channel Omeletto, and it's by Steve Desmond. Right? You guys have a good one. This is Gino Okubo at GoIndieNow. Remember, it's always time to go indie now.
Hello and welcome. This is Julia here with this month's indie book review for GoIndieNow. So let's get started. This month I read Pretty Little Werewolf by Katie SALIDAS. And she is a USA Today bestseller and an award-winning author. So before we jump into the review, here's the blurb. All Giselle ever wanted was a family who can accept her for what she is, a werewolf. In a world where supernatural creatures are not out and proud, this has been a problem for 16-year-old Giselle. A child of the system, she's been bounced from home to home for as long as she can remember. As soon as the moon calls out her inner wolf, it's back into the system she goes. Against all odds, a new family is found for Giselle, one that may prove to be the answer to all her dreams and wishes, but this family comes with the deadly secret that could send Giselle 6 feet under instead of back into the system. Amid factions of warring witches and werewolves and deadly curses with no hope for a cure, the way will not be an easy one. But if Giselle can call upon her skills as a lone wolf, she may just be able to unearth the truth, keeping her from the one thing she's ever wanted, family. So I read the first book of the Agents of the Asset series by Katie and reviewed it for this show, so I knew I was in for some good writing. One of the things I love about SALIDAS is her character development that pairs with excellent and exciting plots. So usually authors are kind of in one camp or another where they are all about the characters or they're all about what happens. So what I really love is a book that does both really well. So we have exciting things happening, conflict, danger, twists and turns, but we also have characters that we can relate to and fall in love with and really get behind, whether we're rooting for or against them. And that's kind of what I always hope for when I'm looking for a book. So I love Katie's books because I feel like I get the best of both worlds. So Pretty Little Werewolf is no exceptions. I haven't read a ton of werewolf stories, if I'm honest. I read some of Timothy Bateson's prequel short stories to his series that's about werewolf shifters, but I have not delved a ton into that. But I love young adult, which this happens to be, and I love, love, love urban fantasy. And this is actually what I write, is young adult urban fantasy. So I knew this would be right up my alley, and I couldn't wait to jump in. And Katie had just won another Roan Award for her Agents of Asset series, so I was super eager to read more. So once again, I love these characters. Giselle is a great protagonist. She's got a history and a reason not to be gullible, but she's not closed off or a jerk. So, she's got a past, she's got a history, she's in the foster care system, and she's a werewolf, so she's definitely not your perfect Mary Sue characters, which I hate. And she's also not super closed off. She's not mean. She's not a jerk for no reason. She's not rude to people. She has her inner wolf that you don't want to mess with, yes, and she's an alpha in the making, but she's still definitely a human. She meditates and tries to get along with her foster sisters, and I really love the interplay between the family dynamics of the three of them. So they're all werewolves. And so there's like this little bit of a challenge between her and one foster sister in particular, where they both are kind of wanting to be these alpha type werewolves. And so they don't want to be submissive in any way, and they want to show dominance over the other when they're making decisions or talking. But they also don't want to fight with each other because they want to get along and they want to be sisters. So it's really, really, really interesting to see kind of them play off each other while also still like being calm and, still trying to be reasonable and like nice to each other. So, family relationships are super hard to negotiate in real life. Friendships are super hard to negotiate in real life, especially as a foster kid and especially as a teenager. So Katie does a really, really great job with both the singular characters in this book, but also how they interact and get along with the other characters. And there's a lot to unpack in this book. Giselle wants a family, but she's not so sure about a pack. She's very independent and used to making her own decisions. She's grown up by herself with only herself to rely on, so she's not really sure how she really feels about pack rules, for example. Yet, yes, she wants a family, but does she want a pack? And if she doesn't join their pack, will she still be allowed to be in the family? So this is kind of the big conflict that's going on with her emotionally, and this is what she's thinking about. While on top of this, she also has the family is in a feud with another werewolf family, and she actually really likes one of the werewolves in that clan. So his name is Ash. He's super hot. He sits next to her in class, and she's really, really interested. So she's trying to figure out what is going on with this feud. Why are we fighting with them? Throw in a lone wolf that's willing to kill over his territory and some witches that she doesn't know but are not to be messed with. And Giselle has some big secrets to uncover before she can say yes to a pack. After all, she signed up for a family and not a war. So this book has a great plot, great pacing as Giselle works to help end the feud if she can. It's not easy with her life on the line. She's just a pup after all and an outsider, but she's determined. So I don't want to get too much into anything because I don't want to spoil anything, but I really, really, really recommend this story. It's got excitement, it's got danger and plenty of emotion, great characters, great plots. So read on and find out what the truth is behind this feud. And I definitely recommend Pretty Little Werewolf by Katie SALIDAS. So that's my review for this month. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.
School when you're gonna be famous superstar model with me as your personal manager.
Yeah, tell my mom that when you're calling her.
They're chasing me away if I stop now.
You're gonna do great, just be yourself.
How's even a good photo?
Who cares? It's $1,000.
No, yeah, you're right. And it's gonna help my mom so much.
Don't know me back, it's not my time to play. Angel wings are spread.
Why don't you start with telling me who is Carly? And do you have a passport to travel internationally?
Never ever let go.
Girl, you're gonna make so much money.
Hey, baby girl, sorry we didn't get to speak earlier. Hope you're not working too hard. See you tomorrow. I love you. Bye.
Hi, this is J.K. Allen here to read a little bit from my new book, Demonkind, which came out last week. So this is the last book in the Angelborn series. Ginny thinks that Jacob is dealt with and taken care of in Heavenfire, but just because you slay a powerful half-demon does not mean that you are free of him. So Jacob has his own plans, and that's a little bit what I'm going to read about. So chapter 9. Jacob had been preparing for the last couple of days, ever since he had been given the warning the minion was coming. It was an insult, really, that Azazel didn't feel the need to come fight his own battle, that he assumed his man could win for him, and probably easily. It spurred Jacob on. He was not to be underestimated. Azazel would soon learn that. Jacob had scouts out looking for his arrival. They would report it soon, he was certain. Even if he didn't fully control the army, his former changelings were loyal to them as they had been in life. All except Mordecai. He kept him isolated, not wanting his insolence to poison the others. Jacob sat in his cave, swinging his swords in circles on either side of him. He was sick of waiting, the anticipation building up inside him to an unbearable degree. Lost in thought, he hardly noticed Sean running towards him. "He's coming," Sean rushed to say. "Tell me more about him." Lesser demon, but big and powerful looking. He has a scorpion tail, probably poisonous, and 4 arms with 4 weapons. Of course, he assumes that just because I was human, I can't fight a beast like that. But you can, Master. Of course I can. Now come, we will meet it. Jacob left the cave, grabbing a short sword to attach to his hip along with the dagger he already wore. The sword he carried was a fine blade, the best he had found amongst his father's possessions, and he would use it well. It seemed everyone was gathered to watch what was about to unfold. After all, everyone's fate depended on who won this fight. Would they follow Jacob like they had his father, or would they be forced to follow Azazel? He surveyed the massive crowd that surrounded him, unsure of which they would prefer. It didn't matter to Jacob what they wished. He only cared about his own desires. What did it matter what lesser demons wanted? He was greater than all of them. The demon approached, and Jacob stifled a laugh. This was merely a trumped-up lesser demon. Sure, it was 8 feet tall and monstrous, but it had no special abilities. Jacob felt strong as he straightened and addressed it. "You have come to surrender? My master offers you a one-time deal. You obey him and him alone, and you will not be destroyed." Its voice was low and gravelly. Jacob laughed. "I obey no one. Not even your father? My father is dead. I am not. You will join him. Try if you can." The demon lashed out with its tail. It whipped through the air with a whistling sound before it struck the ground. Jacob dodged it easily, sidestepping and swinging his sword wide. The demon blocked with one of his swords and swung 2 down at the same time. Jacob let his instincts take over, knocking them out of the way with 2 flicks of his wrist. He drew the short sword, taking it in his weaker hand. He swung the swords around him before going on the attack. Jacob wasn't one to wait, and he wanted to throw the demon off. Jacob let his anger flare, putting his everything into his strikes, pushing himself to be faster and more aggressive. The demon was on the defensive now, and didn't seem to like it. He lashed out again with his tail, but one swipe from Jacob's sword and it severed, spraying green venom. Jacob leapt to the side to avoid the spray, rolling onto his shoulder and springing back on his feet. He had no time to make mistakes now. The demon was screaming and writhing in pain. Jacob could sense more than see it as he came to his feet. The demon's mind suddenly clear in his. He felt his own mind reach out, like an invisible hand grasping the demon's. Die, Jacob commanded, standing. The demon stopped in its tracks, choking. Die. Blood spurted from its mouth as it clawed at its throat. It seemed to struggle against its fate, scratching at its throat and face, taking staggering steps towards Jacob. Dance. Jacob laughed heartily as the demon began to kick up its feet and swing its arms around. Jacob realized he had full control of the beast, and he let the demon prance around in a circle as blood leaked from his mouth. Now take your sword. Jacob said this command aloud. The demon raised all 4 swords and waited for his next command. Cut off a hand. The demon trembled, his arm spasming as he tried to fight off the command, but in a sharp, quick stroke, he lobbed off one of his left hands, screaming the entire time. Now the other left hand. Murmurs were swirling around the watching crowd as everyone realized what was happening. Of course, his father's men had seen Shemiaza's capable of mind control, among other powers. To see the sun was a sobering sight. Jacob grinned wildly as another hand was removed from the demon's body. My final command is a repeat. Die. The demon shuddered and blood burst from its mouth. It dropped to its knees, squealing in pain. Die faster. The demon took his sword and ran it through its heart in a quick strike. It spasmed and fell over, stilled. All hail the master, a cry went up from the crowd. The army dropped to a knee, and Jacob's former changelings all rushed towards him laughing. Master, you did it! You're more powerful than ever, Sean gloated. Cries of master filled the air around Jacob, and he reveled in it. Now this army was his. Now he would finally rule, and next he would rule all the realms. Well, all the realms that mattered. Thank you so much for joining me for this reading of Demonkind by J.K. Allen.
What I'm about to tell you is going to be very difficult to understand. But you deserve the truth.
My mom was at church and Ashley was there. She had a breakdown in front of everyone. Even said she was bleeding from her eyes.
Was Reverend Michael there?
Yeah.
I just saw him yesterday and he didn't say anything about it.
Place like a candle on top of a Bible, and then you look into a mirror, you do a seance, and you call out to the dead.
The first one that I pick up says, final solution. A young lady identifies herself as Sophia Crane, and then it got a little upsetting after that.
Hello, everybody. Joe Compton here, and I'm here to do an indie brew review. We're going to add this now to our flagship show. I hope you guys appreciate that and enjoy it. I had a beer that I featured on Joe's Bar, and so even if we don't do Joe's Bar for that particular month or season, I will continue to do these reviews. People seem to like them, and I'll give you some opportunities to find some really great beers and other cocktails out there. I won't do just beers. I'll mix it up from time to time as well. And so with that being said, for this episode, I am going to review the beer that we featured on Joe's Bar just recently in this month. And that was the Jack Porter English Style Ale from the Jackrabbit Brewing Company. So, like I said, Jack Porter English Style Ale. And before I get into the beer itself, let's learn a little bit about the Jackrabbit Brewing Company. The Jackrabbit Brewing Company was started in 2011 by 4 brewers who share a passion for full-flavored and yet balanced beers. Taking inspiration from Belgian, English, and German brews, their goal is to craft a beer that is founded in tradition but defies convention with California-style inventiveness. They have a DIY ethic when it comes to their beers, their brewery, and their business. In other words, they prefer to do things their own way. And I love this. Often the hard way, it's in parentheses, it says that. All of their beers were designed and perfected by them. And even their 5-barrel brewing system was custom built by the Jackrabbit crew. If you come across their beer on tap or in bottles at your local retailer, rest assured that they poured their passion for beer into every ounce. And I have to agree. I find that very, very true with this beer. This is, English style beer is often noted for its bitterness. That's why it's called English style beer. That's part of, if you want a little history lesson about beer and why certain things are called ales and porters, English style ale is typically known for its bitterness, and it has a bitterness scale that reflects the kind of beer that, the kind of stoutness that you're going to get with a beer like this. So this beer has that traditional bitterness to it, but it's not as staunch as, say, a Sam Smith's would be or a Bass Ale. It is more, it does have a hint of a note, maybe not so much fruity, but of maybe a nut, kind of like a Sam Smith nut brown ale or a Newcastle. It's very thick It's like a cola in its look, and like I said, it's very robust, and it goes down smooth. It's a very smooth drink. The one thing I will say, it's a really good sipping beer. It's not one that you can chug. Chugging it would be a mistake. I think taking your time and sipping it for two reasons is a very, very good thing with Jack Porter. First reason being is that you're going to feel it. So if you chug it, you're going to topple yourself over 2 times over. They come in 4-packs. It's reasonably priced. It was $8.99 for a 4-pack, which I found pretty reasonable these days for a craft beer, an indie beer, for a 4-pack. I mean, that's right around the price point that is, I would say, is pretty reasonable. I mean, that's still pretty steep for beer if you're going for quantity over quality, but if you're looking for quality, this is a really good buy for that reason. I also would say the other part of that why you don't want to chug it is because this is a beer that has this interesting element to it, as most English beers do, and that is if you let it breathe, you let it sit like a wine, you're going to get a much more full-bodied richness from it. It becomes more of a richer beer. It becomes more of a beer that has something that goes down smoother. It doesn't have that bitter note that leaves a bad taste and a bad aftertaste in your mouth. So I highly recommend when you pop it open to let it breathe for a moment. Let it sit. The more room temperature absorbs, the more the beer seems to come alive. And that's always the case with a lot of English beers. So I like that they incorporated that factor into this beer. This beer does have a little bit of that California sensibility in that it lingers more toward pale ale than it does, like a red ale or a stout ale or a porter ale, and it mixes together pretty well. I really enjoyed this beer. I will drink it again. I will find it. I got mine at Bevmo, which is our local place to go get beer. I know that Bevmo doesn't exist everywhere, but I'm pretty confident that they're all around. And if you find them in your store, let everybody know in the comments where you found it. And cheers.
Hello everyone, this is Okubo here at Okubo Films. Basically, I'm grateful to GoIndieNow. I just want to talk about my film stuff and who I am. I'm Okubo, the president and founder of Okubo Films, and here in Japan. And my film career kicked off, I would say, close to 19 years ago, when I wrote a very short screenplay. But it didn't really kick into gear until I met Joe. I emailed to him and he read it and he said there's something there. And that's where I started writing more full feature screenplays and getting really into it. Then I met Jimmy Lee Combs, director, producer for his own films. And yeah, I was able to see that I didn't have to just write my screenplays and try to sell them off in Hollywood. I could actually start filming my own stuff. So I started filming. This was a couple years ago, And I started with an experimental film called Vox, and that's on my YouTube channel. And it's completely experimental, trying new techniques, stuff like that. And then I went to a mini web series. And this year, I made a huge breakthrough with a film called The Process. It's on Amazon Prime. My big step, my big leap was this year. That's when I founded Okubo Films this year. I went from making small films on my own, and I've received motivation from many places. I've sent requests for acting and actors and helped to get production funding and stuff like that. I've sent it to almost every place you can imagine. I've even tried the Kickstarter, stuff like that, and I learned something really, really important about trying to get funding for my film, and that is that it's hard. Getting money for a film is nearly impossible, and that's something that I just don't care about anymore, I guess, because now I'm just doing it on a credit card and a prayer, which it's not always good, but I gotta make my films, and this year I have been blessed, I think, because not only do I have all this motivation and energy to write screenplays, get them out there, but making my films, and I ran into someone who recommended that I go to the local film commission. And I did a lot of research, and I was like, wow, this is my golden ticket, because I live in Japan, and the Japanese Film Commission sets aside money just for people like me to be able to make our films. Then I got to the city film commission from where I live, and they told us that even though it's all the same film commission across Japan, they don't share funds, and only the big cities get the funding, and they're very, let's say, selective of who they give their money to. Even though it's supposed to go to people like me, most likely it's the same story all over again, where You have to have a brand name, or you have to have some kind of funding already, or you have to have a really, really good connection to be able to get access to those funds. So I asked, what can I do? Where can I go? How can they help me get my film done? Because I have no budget, and even my actors are acting. I'm so grateful they're acting for me for free for this film. And the film I'm talking about is called The Line, and it's my first feature-length film, and I'm debuting it in a movie theater next year. So I got to the film commission, and with them I found locations, and he helped me. The guy at the film commission helped me get actors, and even though some of them didn't work out, they flaked out, or they broke their promise or broke their word and stuff like that. I'm pushing on through with the actors that I have, and I'm so grateful for them, because these actors really came through in finding replacement actors that were willing to do it, finding people who just want to give it a shot. And all I can think about is just, hey, we just gotta get the film done. We gotta get this story told, and no matter the way we get it out there, I have a couple of quotes that I really, really enjoy, and I look back at these quotes when I find it hard. And one of them is, when you finish your screenplay, you dot that last I and you put that last period, and you have your screenplay finished, you're already 90% ahead of everyone else in Hollywood. The same thing when you finish your novel or your book or your song or whatever your project is. When you finish it, and you of course editing has to happen and stuff like that, but when you finish it, you're already 90% ahead of the game. The last 10% is the hard part. Well, the next 8% is the harder, and the last 2% is the hardest part, in my opinion. There's that quote. The next one is by Jordan Peele from Key & Peele, where he says, I think they were interviewing him about Get Out, and it was this. He goes, well, you have a scene, and there's a hole in it, or there's an error in it. Do you fix the error and destroy your keep your continuity, or do you ignore it to keep your vision? And I'm having to depend on that stuff. So my film is going to be debuting Love's Kiss. It has its own intro, and then it's going to be going live on Amazon Prime. I hope you guys enjoy it. I have a story to tell with that, and it shows, it's connected to a genre that I really, really love. Discussion. Today's discussion has to do with Clive Barker. I really like Clive Barker. I do. I've loved him since I can remember, and I think I remember it from the first time that I saw what's it called, the Cabal, when they made the movie for Cabal, and I know it's slipping my head right now. Nightbreed. That's where it is. So I remember from that point on, I started loving everything, and then after Nightbreed, I delved deeper, and then I started going backwards and going, wait a minute, I've seen other stuff by him. Bringing the Hellbound Heart, also known for the moviegoers out there as Hellraiser. And now that I'm really full steam ahead in my film career, I'm happy with the people that I surround myself with, my cast of actors who have allowed me to do things and in an artistic way, as well as getting things done in budgetary way. So, without further ado, I'm going to present to you what I hope you will enjoy. And that is my film called Love's Kiss. I'm releasing this film. It'll be available specifically on Amazon Prime through .com for the US and AmazonPrime.co.jp for Japan. The Japanese one will be available about 1 or 2 months later. Then the American one will be available on AmazonPrime.com right after the showing of this. This is releasing on GoIndieNow exclusively because I wanted to release it on GoIndieNow specifically because I love what GoIndieNow does. I've presented for them before, and the whole idea of indies helping indies is a great thing. So, this film, I had the idea, and I had the idea for quite a couple of films where I have female protagonists, and I recently finished the book Median Unchained, which is the story of what happens to Nightbreed after Median falls. And I got the idea about one person, and Pietra, who is my focal point for this film, who is from Median. And I'm not going to spoil the movie for you, but let's just say she gets what she needs. That being said, I have a list of films that I'm putting out there that are on my to film list, and where I have the female as a protagonist, and in a way, like a hidden protagonist as well. And I'm trying to delve deeper into my film career, and as a director, I'm still learning, but I'm getting better every time. I'm learning how to take the reins of my own film and lead it to where I need it to go. My style is unique, I think, in the fact that I'm trying to do things almost B genre, but give it more of a feeling of, you're just standing on the corner watching this happen rather than sitting behind the camera. So I'm trying to accomplish a lot of stuff. And again, this is being filmed in Japan, so you might hear Japanese voices in the background to keep the lively conversation, because I want the whole international feel as well. When we make films, I think sometimes, and when you look at big productions, they really strive to bring their world to life. I'm trying to peel back the layers of our world where we live and bring that to life and show everyone that there's stories. And like, I was having fun with my actors the other day, where we're driving down to the set, and there's a car in front of us, and I'm just adding voice to the conversation of what would be. And it's amazing the stories that are out there, and the stories that just pop into our head. And I'm really grateful that I was able to film this film.
It's over.
What do you mean, is it over? I wanted to build a life with you.
There's nothing more to say.
Hold still. I am feeding.